Welcome. We are the California State Parks Workforce Planning and Recruitment Team, and today we're going to talk a little bit about how to get a job with the state of California. California State Parks does have 280 parks within the state, and so there's a lot of job opportunities throughout. And so we're going to go through a little bit of information about why parks is a great place to work, and then also how to actually go through the steps of getting a state job. There we go. All right, so the team, we have Sochi Proc, that's our supervisor. She is not here today. We have Carly Carpenter on the call. Carly, want to say hi? Hello? There she is. And then we also have David Garcia on the call.
Hello.
And then I am Marisa Edmondson. I just want to let everybody know that we are a full service recruitment office. And so if you do have any questions about applications, or if you want us to look over your resume, or even just questions about your qualifications for a specific career, you can always email us. Recruiting@parks.ca.gov is the email address where you can reach our entire team. And so that's the best way to reach us if you ever do have any questions or need assistance in applying for a job with parks, or even just with the state broadly.
Okay, so our mission. So here, again, thank you everyone for joining us. Our mission at California State Parks, I'll go ahead and read that, is to provide the health, inspiration, and education of the people of California by helping to preserve the state's extraordinary biological diversity, protecting its most valued natural and cultural resources, and creating opportunities for high quality outdoor recreation.
So to begin, there are many benefits for working with California State Parks. We are a state agency, so we do fall under state civil service. Most people are familiar with the retirement benefits that are available to you as a state employee. We do have a wide range of medical, vision, and dental benefits that are available to both yourself and to your family. Paid holidays, as well as sick leave, a number of paid vacations, as well as family leave. A number of our classifications do offer pay differentials, so this is something that you might want to look into as well. However, this is not a complete exhaustive list of the benefits that are available to you, and I highly encourage you to visit the Department of Human Resources website, as they have a complete list of the benefits that are available to you as a state employee.
Yeah, so our culture at Parks is, it's a really great culture. It's a really good work culture, all the way from the top, from our director to our deputy director, Cedric Mitchell, all the way down to our workforce planning and recruitment office. One thing to keep in mind is one of our duties and one of our jobs is we're trying to create a diverse workforce that's reflective of our state's population. We know how important it is for visitors in California when they visit parks, how important it is for people that work there when they see them to connect with them. So we want people from a very diverse background to be working at parks, and we want to make sure it's a place for everyone to feel comfortable and to experience outdoors. And so that's one thing that we strive to do.
And then lastly, we really want to improve the lives of others. So just like our mission says, we want to protect and preserve the natural and cultural history that California has to offer. And so in order to do that, we need a workforce to continue to protect and preserve those places within California for Californians, for visitors, and for generations to come. Another thing I want to point out is that we have an office called the Office of Grants and Local Services. And what they do is actually help to create community parks as well. And so it's not just those big state parks. We do have a hand in a lot of the smaller parks in different cities and locations throughout California as well. So we really are making a difference in every community. So what we're going to do now is go into a little bit of the step-by-step, the steps of actually getting a job and applying with a job to the state. So the first thing I want to point out actually is that patience is key. So a lot of times the state processes are a little bit longer than most of the processes, the hiring processes that our private sector. And so just knowing that, you just kind of want to make sure that you are being patient with the entire process and everybody that's involved in each of these steps. So the first thing that you want to do is create a CalCareers account. And so CalCareers is actually the website that will you use to apply for any job throughout the state. And so on there, you'll have your own profile. You can save different documents on there. So let's say you wanted to save your diploma and your resume so that you can easily add them when you're applying for a job online. You can save those there. And then you can also save different searches for exams that you're looking into and also vacancies. So we're also going to talk a little bit more about the exam process and the type of vacancies that we have throughout this presentation.
So the second step is to take an exam. For any full-time job with the state of California, you will need to take an examination. This is really just to ensure that the candidate or the applicant is meeting the minimum qualifications for that specific classification. It tends to be more self-assessment, so these exams tend to ask you how familiar you are with performing certain tasks in the workplace, so nothing that you really need to study for. However, if you do want to review some of the questions that might be asked of you or the scope of the exam, all of that information is on the exam bulletin. So one of the things that once you take an exam, you'll hear a lot of times list eligibility being talked about. So this is basically once you take an exam and you pass it, typically within the top 3 ranks, you'll establish this list eligibility. Once you establish that, you can actually go on and apply for jobs right then and there. One of the things that we always tell applicants to be mindful of, especially if you're someone that is interested in multiple classifications, to be sure that you're taking the exam that coincides with each classification. For example, if you're someone that is interested in an environmental scientist position, but you're also interested in potentially being a staff service analyst, those are 2 separate classifications that require 2 separate exams. So that's just something to be mindful of when you are applying to multiple positions. Another thing that we like to note as well is that some of the exams are online and continuous, meaning that you could go on today and actually go ahead and apply and take that exam right then and there. However, some exams do require that you apply to take them, and sometimes are often conducted in person. So just again, make sure that you're reading the job bulletin fully and carefully to make sure that you're doing and taking the right steps to go about that process.
All right, step 3 is to apply. So now you've gained list eligibility, you've taken multiple exams for different classifications that you're interested in, and now you can apply. Visit our website, livetheparkslife.com, and then you can search for vacancies through there, which will take you to CalCareers and show you a list of our department's openings. And something to keep in mind is that you always have to apply with your STD 678. So what that is, that's your official state application form. So if you're applying to take an exam or you're applying for a job opening, it's always going to be that official state application form, the STD 678. Now, some jobs on the job bulletin, it'll request that you, some will even request that you turn in a hard copy. So it'll say mail to the hiring manager here, which is a little bit old school. And then others you can apply electronically through CalCareers, and anytime you create a template, that essentially is the STD 678. So you can apply with the STD 678 electronically or the hard copy. And again, the job bulletin or the exam bulletin will list what it prefers or what it requires.
Another thing I want to mention too is that sometimes on the exam there will be a study guide depending on the classification that you're looking for or to apply to. So for example, I know the environmental scientist exam bulletin, if you scroll down on there, you'll actually see the questions that are asked on the exam, so you can have an idea of what's going to be asked before you take it. So that's something that you want to look out for too. Not every exam bulletin has it, but it's a good tip to take away. Next, what we're looking at is actually the homepage of calcareers.ca.gov. So this is where you would make your account, you would do your exam searches and your job searches. And so I just wanted to show this because it is different than our web page. So this is the page that you're on when you're applying for any state job. And so we also, I just want to point out, we also take veterans preference benefits. And so if you are a veteran, you have the opportunity to get a bit of a benefit. If you pass any exam with a 70%, you'll actually be moved into the first rank. And so that way you are more likely to get contacted first for an interview. Another benefit that we have is the limited exam and appointment program, and that's for anybody that has any type of disability. So basically, they changed the exam process a little bit to make it fair for those with disabilities, and so that way, it's still, you're on the same eligibility list, but the exam process is just a little bit different. Another thing that I want to point out on CalCareers is that you do have the ability to filter results. So we are actually based in Sacramento, California. And I know, obviously, you guys are in San Bernardino. And so on there, you can actually filter to San Bernardino County and see the vacancies that are in your area. Let's say after school, you're going to San Diego, you can filter it for there too. So every county has their own filter so that you can see the jobs in those areas. But then also on the job bulletin itself, it'll let you know the exact location for all of the jobs. And so this is just a quick introduction to the CalCareers page, and then we'll go a little bit more into our own web page so you can see the types of resources that are on there.
So our personal web page can be reached at livetheparkslife.com. And one of the things that I think is important to note that CalCareers is where you're going to formally apply for a position. However, I highly, highly encourage you, especially if you're not as familiar with state agencies or how state government or any of the classifications that are available to you through Parks, to kind of visit our website, navigate our website first. It tends to be a little more user-friendly as opposed to the CalCareers website. However, when you do decide that you're going to move forward with an application, you will need to create a CalCareers account. We have a couple different features on our website. We have a number of featured opportunities. This is usually found when you click on the job section of our webpage. We like to keep this updated with new opportunities that are available to people that are interested in applying right now. Again, some of the exams do require that you put in an application first. So we update that regularly, as well as our current job vacancies as well. We do have a number of career resources on there. It's a great, especially if you're someone that is interested in potentially being a state park peace officer, there is a wealth of information on our web pages in regard to that classification. However, it's not just specific to that classification. There are a number of different classifications and information that you can find on there as well. And lastly, you can join our mailing list on our webpage as well. It's actually going to be towards the bottom of that jobs page. And I highly, highly encourage you all to join it, especially if you're interested in pursuing a career with California State Parks. I know sometimes it can be kind of scary giving out your email address, hoping that they're not going to spam you with a bunch of information. We don't do that. We typically send them out on Friday, and it really is just a great resource and tool to use. You know, we like to keep you updated with the new jobs that are open, new exam opportunities. Occasionally we host webinars that might interest you, and we do send all that information out through that mailing list. So it's a great resource to use.
All right, so next up we have our classification types to search. So this is really important because parks, within California State Parks, we have our own classifications, and then there's also classifications that we use that are usable for other state agencies. So some examples are the environmental scientist classification. So what that means is if you were to take that environmental scientist examination, you would have list eligibility for around 11 different state agencies. So as much as we want you to be an environmental scientist for us, that is a broad classification where you could apply to Fish and Wildlife or multiple different agencies with that. Other examples of the broad classifications are the administration or some of our analyst series, all of our IT classifications, and accounting. So what that means, again, if you take the exam for, you know, maybe for personnel or for the staff services analyst, which is a very broad classification if you have any bachelor's degree, That means you can apply to all of our openings, but also any other openings in any of the 200 state agencies that has any. So that's something to keep in mind. Some additional are the support staff. So if you wanted to work in an office and get your foot in the door at California State Parks, you could take the office technician examination. That's online. And again, you can also apply to Fish and Wildlife or any of these other state agencies with these broad classifications.
Awesome. So then we do have the, like Dave said, department specific classifications. So these are classifications that you're only going to find at California State Parks. And so I'll go into a little bit of detail about some of these too, just so that you have an idea of maybe the type of background or the work that they do, so you can kind of decide if it's something that you want to do. So a couple examples of those are park and recreation specialists. Those are actually some of the types of positions that are in our Office of Grants and Local Services. So they're working on those grants, talking to the different communities, getting their input really on what they want their parks in that community to look like. And then they'll travel to that place, they'll have town hall meetings and really just get everything set up so that the park that they're creating reflects what the community wants. So that's just one thing they do. I know there's other ones who might be doing marketing and outreach. And so like Dave said, there's a lot of broad classification names, but they do different things. Another one is our state park peace officer. So that's our rangers and lifeguards. They're our law enforcement at the California State Parks. And so the Cadet Academy is actually accepting applications right now. We'll talk about that a little bit more later, but we do need law enforcement at each of our parks. And so they do law enforcement and public safety. They do education and interpretation too. So really depending on what park you're at, you might be doing a range of different things. So if you're more into actually helping maybe people, the visitors that are there, explore their park, right? You'll have the opportunity to do that. But if you're somebody that's maybe looking for more of the law enforcement, just go to a more urban park, or there's sometimes parks that have a lot more foot traffic or just traffic in general during certain times of the year. And so you'll see different things throughout the year. They're also EMTs. And so there's a lot that state park peace officers do. So if you're interested in that classification, definitely reach out to us. Our state park interpreters, we actually had one on a webinar that we did earlier this week. And he was actually a history major, and he thought that he wanted to be a teacher, but he realized that as a state park interpreter, there was a lot more that he could do and have an impact on a lot more people. And so basically, and a state park interpreter isn't interpreting a specific language. What they're doing is interpreting the park to the visitors. So the natural history of that park, the cultural history of that park, any question that a visitor has, I've found that most interpreters can answer that question. They're those people that just know a lot of random facts that you would think that are random, but to them, it's like the most important thing, and it's things that they want to share and help others explore that part. So they might be helping visitors that come, or kids on a field trip, and so they get a lot of exposure in different areas. Then the last one that I want to talk about is our state park maintenance workers. So we have worker assistants, worker ones, and worker supervisors. And so you could actually come in as a seasonal maintenance aide and work your way all the way up to supervisor. So there's a lot of growth, a lot of opportunities. You can go to different parks, and really there's all of these classifications, and each park needs one, right? Because the way that the parks operate is pretty much the same at each one. So they'll need a lot of the same classifications. And so if you're interested in any of those things, please let us know. When you're looking for those online, you'll see that those ones are only specific to California State Parks. So you won't see those at like Fish and Wildlife or the Franchise Tax Board, any other state agencies. So now we're going to get into some tips for applying, how to make yourself stand out, be the best candidate, and really just put your best foot forward in the application process. So the first step that we have for you is to email us, because we're always happy to help. Like I said, we can look over your resume for you. Let's say you just have some broad interest and you want to know where you fit in. Just email us and we can help you kind of figure it out, take you step by step through that process. Another thing you want to do is fill out the official application form, the STD 678, as completely as possible. So sometimes maybe you're working a seasonal position and it says that you need a Class C driver's license. Make sure that you put that information on there. So the more information that you give up front, the less things the hiring manager will actually have to come back and ask you for. So you really want to just show up front that you're the best person for that position and that you meet all of those requirements. And then, like Carly and Dave have both stated, you want to apply to all of the exams that you can, that you're qualified for, or that you might be interested in. So let's say you're interested in maintenance, right? There was all those different classifications. If you have experience in those things, apply to all of those exams. You might not become list eligible for all of them, but if you are, then you'll open yourself up to a lot more opportunities. And just like Dave said, the environmental scientist, you'll have 11 different agencies that you can work at just by taking that one exam. And there's a lot of different opportunities, especially under the staff services analyst. That staff services analyst is a position that we tell all grads or people who are about to graduate to apply for, because the staff services analyst, the only requirement is having your bachelor's degree or being 6 months away from graduation and having that bachelor's degree. So there can be a lot of different things that they can do. They can do outreach, they can do budgets, they can do IT. They're just all over the place. So even though it says staff services analyst, that doesn't mean you'll be doing the same thing as the staff services analyst next to you. So definitely just keep your mind open and when you're looking through those applications and job bulletins.
One of the cool things that you can do with CalCareers is actually create different application templates. And like Marisa was saying, because there's so many different classifications and different exams that you can be taking, having the ability to create these multiple application templates is extremely useful, especially when you are looking to apply to the different classifications. You know, it just allows you to have things done, get things done a little bit quicker. And again, if you're someone that's interested in 2 different classifications, this is just a great way and tool to use. So I highly encourage you all to create those different templates. We always recommend putting extra information about yourself to stand out. Always be mindful of the fact that hiring managers are typically looking at hundreds of applications with one single job posting. So anything about yourself, especially if you have experience, you know, doing something similar to what the job is going to ask you to do, be sure to include that information. Volunteer experience is a great thing to put on your application, especially if you're someone that is just graduating or close to graduating and you might not have a ton of work experience. Volunteer experience is a great way to show that you have had the ability to perform certain tasks in the workplace or, you know, do something that relates to the job duties that you could potentially be doing in your next career. So we always encourage you to include that.
I have a quick question, if I may.
Yeah.
So right now I work as a bookkeeper. I'm a business and marketing major. I work as a bookkeeper for my family business. How would I put that in my resume? Would I put it as volunteer work, since technically I get paid in cash? Like I get, you know, my brother just pays me in cash, but I do everything for him, like the bookkeeping, accounting, all that stuff. Would I put it as volunteer work, or would it be like an actual job under my resume, or how would I word it?
I would say that you could really put it in either way, whichever you feel most comfortable, because it does show that you just have that experience. You know, it's not asking, and it doesn't mean more if you were paid to do it, as long as you're showing that you have like this amount of experience performing these tasks. You just want to make sure that you put it on there so that they can see that you have that experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because
Okay.
I'm in his payroll, but like, I mean, it's a small business, so that's all.
I think if it would show up as like a job that you worked, if somebody did a background check, then put it as work experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good then.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So Carly, I'm not sure if you mentioned this last bulletin, but reach out to the contact listed on the bulletin. Did you mention that?
No, I have not mentioned that yet. You can go ahead.
Okay, so that's one thing we definitely recommend is each job bulletin at the bottom will have the hiring manager's contact and their email address. We highly recommend you reach out. You know, a lot of times you can reach out via phone call, let them know that you applied, maybe gather some more information about what they're looking for in a candidate, and you can kind of create some rapport with the hiring manager. Now, not every hiring manager is going to be as willing or have the time to kind of, you know, get into a long conversation, but we highly recommend, you know, you do reach out so they can kind of, you know, get an idea of who you are, and it allows you to stand out from the crowd. And our hiring manager, that is one thing that she did recommend. I know prior to myself working on the team that we work on, I was in constant contact with my supervisor, kind of getting updates on the position and what she's looking for. So that is something we recommend. We also recommend you try a seasonal position to start your job and your career at California State Parks. If you get your foot in the door as a seasonal, there's no exam needed to apply to those. You can apply today to any seasonal position, and you can start building those relationships. You can start seeing what an interpreter does, or an environmental scientist does, or state park peace officer does, and you can kind of see, hey, what do they do in a park and what do I want to do? So again, that's something we recommend. Around 50% of the people that work in the field as, you know, a state park peace officer, environmental scientist, interpreter, archaeologist, around 50% of those people started as a seasonal. So we highly recommend you do that. And also explore our web pages. We have all kinds of information every day. We're going through dozens of emails in our recruitment inbox, and we're sending out links from our webpage. So we highly recommend you explore livetheparkslife.com. Go to the top right corner of it and type in whatever you're looking for, and that'll pop up. Lot of really good information on livetheparkslife.com.
One thing I want to point out too about the seasonal positions is that those don't require an exam. So you can actually go on there and look at those and apply today. So that way you don't have to go through the whole exam process. And like Dave said, it's a really great way to see what other classifications do. Even though you're a seasonal, you might be able to maybe shadow an environmental scientist, or maybe help a ranger with maybe some paperwork or something like that, you know, just doing things that are supervised, but you also get a chance to kind of spread your wings a little bit and see what's out there.
So something that was mentioned earlier is that we do have a number of featured opportunities. And like I said before, our website is a great place to look at some of the current opportunities that are available to you. However, we understand that you might not see something up there that is, you know, really calling you. So we always recommend checking our website regularly, as well as the CalCareer site too. One of the things that I always like to tell people is that there are so many different opportunities available to you here at California State Parks. You don't have to be a super outdoorsy person. I know I am not a super outdoorsy person and was able to find a home here at California State Parks. So depending on whether you're looking for something full-time and or part-time, like Marisa was saying and Dave was saying, our seasonal positions are a great place to start. If you do enjoy being outdoors and kind of getting your foot in the door with California State Parks and state government. However, if you're someone that's interested in accounting, we do have positions available there. Our maintenance and facility division is always hiring as well. And we do have careers in law enforcement. So we really, you know, depending on what your background is and or what your major is, you'll likely be able to find a home here somewhere in California State Park.
All right, our next featured position is our State Park Peace Officer Cadet Academy. So I saw, you know, we will get into questions, but I did see one that popped up and said, you know, do State Park Peace Officer, Rangers, and Lifeguards, do they carry firearms? The answer is yes. The State Park Peace Officer Cadet Academy is a post-certified cadet academy. However, it's unique because it's a little bit longer than traditional posts because you're going to learn everything from campground management to interpretation. You know, there's all sorts of really cool things that you're going to learn that are specific to California State Parks. It is a full-time paid cadet academy. You'll make $3,741 at the low end per month, and you'll get a housing stipend, and you'll be fully benefited If you move more than 50 miles away from home to attend it, you'll also get an additional housing stipend. Say you had a mortgage or a rent that you had to pay. So the application deadline, we're accepting applications right now, which is a really exciting time. We need more peace officers. We're accepting applications until June 17th. So again, our team every day is going through emails. We're responding. If you have any questions, reach out to us, recruiting@parks.ca.gov. But just something to keep in mind, you'll submit your STD 678 and a criminal record supplemental questionnaire. Both you can find on livetheparkslife.com. We also recommend that you mail in an unofficial college transcript as well. And we also recommend, it's not mandatory, but we do recommend you mail it via certified mail so that you can assure that it was accepted and received, because you won't be notified until typically after the final filing date. You definitely want to make sure that it was accepted. Again, the requirements, I'll go through these real quick, but you need at least 60 semester units of college, a valid driver's license. You can wear glasses or contacts, but if you take those out, you need to have at least 20/40 vision in each eye. You have to be a U.S. citizen or in the process of becoming one. You have to be able to pass a comprehensive background investigation. Again, this is a law enforcement position. You're going to have to be able to pass a background check to become a state park peace officer cadet. And you have to be able to pass the physical agility test. The physical agility test, once you apply, you will get a letter indicating that your application was received, or if it wasn't, why it wasn't, what you're missing. And then you'll be invited to the physical agility test. That'll be in late August and September this year. If you want to be a lifeguard, I know it's a lot of information, but the last part of it, if you want to be a lifeguard, you have to have at least 6 months of open water lifeguarding experience. So at a lake, a reservoir, an ocean. And again, our team is more than happy to send you any forms that you need, any information that you need. And also, hopefully in the next month or two, we'll be allowed to set you up with a ride-along. Recruiting@parks.ca.gov. You could reach out to us. As soon as we're permitted to do so, we could contact a supervising ranger and let you go hang out with a ranger or lifeguard on a ride-along.
Awesome. So I know we're going to get into questions after. So first, I just wanted to say thank you for being with us today. Please definitely let us know if you have any questions, comments. We can help you with anything. If you want to schedule a ride-along in the future, recruiting@parks.ca.gov. Like Carly mentioned earlier, we also have a mailing list that you can contact us at and just kind of stay up to date with what we have going on. So featured opportunities, any webinars that we might be hosting. We do have special guests sometimes. So we'll have like a peace officer join us if we're talking about what it takes to become a peace officer. And you can ask questions to somebody that works in that career field. So that's a great idea too. And then also follow us on our social media. It's at California CA State Parks Jobs, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen and then we can get into some questions.
And Marisa, while you do that, I see a question from Steven, and he's asking, does having a valid post certificate help me stand out in the hiring process? To answer the question, I mean, yeah, it can help you to stand out. If you meet the minimum qualifications, then you should be good to go. Having a post certificate doesn't, you're still going to go through the hiring process the same way. You're going to apply for the Cadet Academy, attend the PAT. If you've taken, you are post certified. So if you've taken the Pellet B written exam within the last 2 years, you may not have to take that. But as far as the post, you're going to have to attend the academy like everyone else. We have heard that if you've been post certified in the last 2 years, that certain courses within the academy may be waived. But again, that's something that the academy will determine at a later date.
Great. Thank you so much, David. Feel free, everyone, to type in any questions that you may have. The great thing about, I thought, your presentation was you answered so many, probably FAQs. So great job. There was one early on. I'm not sure if you addressed it. I think you kind of did about how the current situation, the COVID pandemic, is affecting life working for the state parks. If any information you can share about that, maybe elaborate.
Yeah, so currently, like right now, we're not allowed to schedule any ride-alongs. A lot of people too, people that have like started in the hiring process, they're still able to continue on with that. There are always jobs up on our website, but we have gotten word too from the governor that there will be pay cuts made, but probably in the next fiscal year and possibly the one after that. So really, it's nothing too huge. Like I don't think that so far that they're talking about any type of furloughs or like hiring freezes or anything like that. So on our website too, livetheparkslife.com, you can always just see those current vacancies. And they're posted every 10 to 14 days. I'm sorry, they're up for 10 to 14 days, but they're posted all the time. So to stay up to date with those, just join our mailing list.
Yeah, and I want to jump in there as well. Marissa's like absolutely right. But one thing to keep in mind is that our California State Parks is funded by the gas tax. So we had, as of a year ago, we were approved for around 360 new jobs within parks. And I think we've only filled around half of those. So yeah, it is going to affect, the agency in some ways, but at the same time, we also have millions of dollars coming in to the agency that and a lot of positions that we have yet to fill. So something to keep in mind. We're definitely going to have openings in the next few years.
Great. Thank you so much for that insight, David. What is the typical length of hire?
So it really just depends on the hiring manager and how quickly they get through the process. So when you submit your application, first it goes to personnel. Personnel actually makes sure that you meet the minimum qualifications for that specific classification. They'll ensure that you're on the list and you have that list eligibility by passing that exam. Then it goes to the hiring manager. So once the hiring manager, depending on how many applications they have, they might go through them one by one. Sometimes too, another tip when we talked about filling out your application as completely as possible. Sometimes if there's a ton of applications that a hiring manager has to go through, if you're missing information, they might just say, well, they're not qualified. They're not the person that could follow directions, so they might just put your application to the side and continue to move on with other applicants. And so it really just depends. When I was hired, I applied in September, and then I started my position in January 2nd. And so that I heard that was like a really quick turnaround for the state. And so it really just varies depending on the department, depending on the hiring manager. And so that's why we said patience is key.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, it's about 4:40. We have a few more minutes if anyone wants to ask any live questions. Like I said, great presentation. A lot was answered.
Awesome.
And for everyone to think about, we have direct contact with our recruiter team at California State Parks. So at any time, feel free to reach out to the Career Center as well so we can connect you or answer any questions in the future that you may have.
Yeah, even if you want, just let us know what your major is or like the things that you're interested in. Just email us and we can help you maybe figure out a couple different career paths that you could take and find where you fit in at Parks.
We really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I know our team did bring it up, but just to remind you, the way it works at Parks is not every exam is always available. And we wouldn't want you to miss out on an exam that you'd be interested in. So please join our mailing list. Every Friday, we'll remind you, hey, these are the new exams that are available. And again, we have people ask all the time, I want to take the Park and Rec Specialist exam. I was a sports and recreation major, or I did this and that. And we have to say, unfortunately, it's not available until next year. So please join our mailing list so you can see what exams are available. And we highly encourage you to take any exam that you're interested in.
Great. Thank you so much, David. Any final words from California State Parks team?
No, I just want to say thank you again for being with us today. Thanks for having us. We're really excited to be back in this campus community. Hopefully we can be in person again soon.
For sure. I mean, I really do look forward to when we have an on-campus event and we can see everyone in person.
Yeah.
Again, thank you so much. Wonderful presentation, great team. We look forward to partnering with you in the future as well. Before anyone logs off there is a QR code here. If you'd like to go ahead and provide us some feedback on today's events and sessions, feel free to do that. And also while doing that, you're going to be joining an opportunity drawing for exclusive Career Center swag. And I assure you it will be COVID safe. We will go ahead and disinfect it and ship it to you. So don't be worried about that. And this is really a series of, this is the first of a few virtual events that we're planning. So please stay tuned for all students and alumni. And of course, we look to have many of the employers that participated today back, and then including more. And special guest. And thank you so much for making this a success. We really appreciate all of our employer partners, all of our students. What a wonderful day. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Jackie, is there anything you'd like to say?
I want to thank everyone who participated, all the employers, Marissa, David, and Carly. Thank you again for participating. I believe this is the second time doing a recruitment session. I know you've attended in several of our career fairs in person. Due to the circumstance right now, we're doing virtually. So I do appreciate still the collaboration and the offerings that you have for our students and for our community as well. And also everybody who joined in and participated in our first ever virtual career fair.
Thanks, Jackie. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Okay, and with that, everyone, we will conclude today's events. Have a great afternoon, and we'll see you soon.